First Contact Folly. The Nexari Empire's flagship, Unconquerable, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its sleek, predatory silhouette casting a long shadow across the void. Commander Vexlar stood on the command deck, 6 spindly limbs clasped behind his back, compound eyes reflecting the blue-green planet on the main view screen. Preliminary scans complete, Commander reported his second-in-command, Casver. Technological assessment places them at stage 3.7 on the Galactic development scale. Pre-unified government. Primitive space exploration. Nuclear capabilities, but nothing that could penetrate our shields. Vexlar's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Another simple conquest for the glory of the Nexari. The species had expanded across 12 systems in the last stellar cycle, each takeover more efficient than the last. The conquest algorithm was perfected to mathematical precision. Arrive with overwhelming force, demonstrate technological superiority, demand surrender, and integrate the new species into the labor hierarchy. Deploy the intimidation formation, Vexlar ordered, his voice a metallic rasp through his translator. Standard protocol. Let's get this over with. The Nexari fleet arranged itself in a perfect geometric pattern above Earth's northern hemisphere, blocking sunlight in a display designed to trigger primal fear responses in developing species. The primary communication array powered up, preparing to broadcast the standard ultimatum across all electromagnetic frequencies. Surrender your world to the Nexari Empire. Resistance is mathematically futile. You have 48 Earth hours to comply. The message repeated in every human language, transmitted to every communication device on the planet. Vexlar settled into his command chair, anticipating the usual response. Panicked governmental broadcasts, military posturing, followed by the inevitable surrender negotiations. What happened instead puzzled him deeply. Within 6 hours, the humans had somehow hacked into the Nexari broadcast frequency. Instead of terrified pleas or defiant threats, the first official response was music, a rhythmic, pulsing beat accompanied by a human voice repeatedly claiming that they were never gonna give you up or let you down. What is this? Vexlar demanded. Some kind of primitive psychological warfare. Before his analysts could respond, the broadcasts multiplied. Thousands, then millions of human communication channels began transmitting messages, but not to the Nexari. They appeared to be communicating with each other, analyzing the Nexari ships with what could only be described as enthusiasm. Sir, reported the Cultural Integration Officer, I've been monitoring their global information network. The humans appear to be treating our arrival as some form of entertainment. Impossible. Vexlar dismissed. Check your translation algorithms. Translation is accurate, sir. They're creating memes, cultural information packets, about us. Look. The view screen filled with crude but recognizable images of Nexari ships photo-manipulated to appear as though they were wearing human hats or with cartoon eyes and smiles drawn onto them. Others showed humans in postures of exaggerated fear followed by text that read, aliens, surrender or die. Humans, new phone, who dis? Vexlar's exoskeleton bristled. This is not the correct response to impending planetary conquest. Things grew stranger as the hours passed. Human news networks began rating the Nexari ship designs on aesthetic appeal rather than threat level. Military analysts debated not defensive strategies, but whether the Nexari had skipped leg day in their physical evolution. One particularly popular human broadcaster spent an hour discussing whether the Nexari would prefer Earth's coffee or tea, and what this might mean for diplomatic relations. Commander, Casver reported nervously, human military vessels are approaching. Vexlar straightened. Finally, a proper response. Prepare the defense grid. But the human military ships didn't attack. Instead, they began flying in patterns around the Nexari fleet, patterns that made no tactical sense whatsoever. After several passes, Vexlar realized with horror that the humans were tracing obscene anatomical imagery around his flagship. Sir, the communications officer interrupted. The humans are requesting a dance-off. A what? Vexlar's voice cracked. They say that according to intergalactic law, which they've apparently just invented, we must compete in a dancing competition to determine planetary sovereignty. Vexlar's compound eyes blinked rapidly in succession. Denied. Begin the second phase intimidation protocol. The Nexeri deployed ground forces to a major human city, Las Vegas, selected for its prominent position in human entertainment networks. The warriors, clad in battle armor that had terrified dozens of species across the galaxy, materialized in the middle of a vast hall filled with blinking lights and ringing machines. Humans, bellowed the ground commander. Tri MBLB favoriti a might of HENEXARI. The humans in the casino paused briefly, staring at the alien warriors. Then, inexplicably, they cheered. Some began taking self-portraits with the invaders in the background. Others offered them tokens for the gambling machines. $20 says they're not really gonna kill us, one elderly human said to another, loud enough for the Nexeri translator to pick up. Nah, this is definitely a publicity stunt for that new sci-fi movie, replied her companion. The costumes are amazing, though. The ground commander's report back to the flagship was panicked and confused. Sir, the humans appear to believe we are some form of entertainment performers. They're asking for autographs and attempting to buy us alcoholic beverages. Vexlar slammed a limb against his command console. This species is insane. Deploy the city destroyer to demonstrate our seriousness. The Nexeri's most fearsome weapon, a massive energy cannon designed to level urban centers, powered up with an ominous glow. But before it could fire, every screen on the flagship suddenly switched to display a human female with bright pink hair. Hi there, alien friends, she said cheerfully. I'm Emma Chen, and I've just hacked your entire command system. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt your ships. That would be rude. But I did want to invite you all to my Twitch stream where I'll be showing everyone how I did it. Also, your encryption is adorable. It's like you're not even trying to keep us out. Vexlar stared in disbelief as the human proceeded to demonstrate complete control over the Nexeri fleet's auxiliary systems, even changing the exterior lighting to pulse in time with yet another human music selection. This one about having a good time. And not stopping now. Sir, Kazver whispered, his exoskeleton pale with stress. I believe we may have miscalculated. The final humiliation came 12 hours into the invasion, when the humans somehow hijacked the Nexeri gravitational stabilizers. The entire invasion fleet found itself forced into a synchronized orbital pattern that, when viewed from the planet's surface, created the unmistakable image of a human posterior. As Vexlar watched his mighty armada involuntarily mooning the planet they had come to conquer, a new transmission came through. This one showed a human in formal attire, seated behind a desk. Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of Earth's hastily assembled First Contact Comedy Task Force. We've really enjoyed your invasion so far, but we feel we should move this relationship to the next level. We'd like to invite Commander, is it Vexlar? Sorry about the pronunciation, to our United Nations for what we're calling the roast of the Nexeri Empire. We promise it'll be just brutal. Absolutely savage. You'll love it. As the broadcast ended, Vexlar turned to his second-in-command, mandibles hanging open in shock. Kazver, he said slowly, I believe we may have invaded the wrong planet. The ultimate bluff. The diplomatic chamber of the United Nations had been hastily redecorated for the occasion. Where once hung flags of member nations, now stretched a banner reading Welcome Nexeri Overlords, Lowell J.K., in glittering letters. Commander Vexlar entered with a security detail of 6 warriors, all attempting to project Nexeri dignity despite the events of the previous day. The human delegates didn't rise in respect or cower in fear. Instead, they were chatting casually, taking selfies, and most disturbingly, laughing. A human approached Vexlar with a small device. Commander, Mike Chen from Interstellar Daily. Quick question. How does it feel to be the first invasion force in history to be turned into a global meme before firing a single shot? Vexlar ignored the question, mandibles clenched tightly. He had come to salvage what remained of this conquest, to understand what technology these primitives possessed that could override Nexaris systems, and to adjust the invasion parameters accordingly. "I will speak only with your planetary leader," Vexlar announced. A woman in a sharp suit approached. Dr. Annika Dawn, Secretary General. "Welcome to Earth, Commander. We've prepared a presentation on humanity that might help clear up some misconceptions." The lights dimmed, and a projection appeared. Humanity. A brief overview for confused conquerors, read the title slide, followed by a cartoon image of a puzzled-looking alien scratching its head. What followed was unlike any species briefing Vexlar had ever seen. Instead of detailing military capabilities or governmental structures, the presentation showcased humans doing the most baffling things. Individuals jumping off perfectly functional transportation devices with only fabric to slow their descent, others intentionally wrapping themselves in bedding materials and sliding down snow-covered mountains, groups gathering to throw perfectly good nutrition at each other in organized food fights. As you can see, Dr. Dawn narrated, humans have an interesting relationship with danger, entertainment, and rational behavior. The presentation continued, showing humans keeping deadly predators as pets, constructing habitations specifically designed to terrify themselves, and competing to consume the greatest quantity of circular dough products in limited time periods. But our most defining characteristic, Dr. Dawn continued as the presentation shifted, is probably our approach to impossible situations. The screen filled with historical images, primitive human sailing vessels facing monstrous ocean waves, lone individuals standing before war machines, cities rebuilding after devastating natural disasters. We call it many things: stubbornness, determination, spite. But it all comes down to this: humans don't know when we're supposed to lose. The final slide showed a simple text quote. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't that we're smart. It's that we do incredibly stupid things, survive anyway, and then dare the universe to stop us from doing it again. But bigger this time." The lights came up. Dr. Dawn smiled pleasantly at the increasingly disturbed Nexari commander. "Now about those surrender terms you mentioned. We've taken the liberty of drafting a counter-proposal." A human aide handed Vexlar a document. Its title read, "Mutual Entertainment and Non-Conquest Agreement, MENCA." "This is outrageous," Vexlar sputtered after scanning the document. "You're proposing we entertain each other." "Precisely," Dr. Dawn beamed. "We've thoroughly enjoyed your invasion attempt. The light show was particularly impressive. In return, we're offering cultural exchange rather than surrender. Music, art, literature, competitive sports, the works." "You misunderstand our purpose," Vexlar said coldly. "The Nexari Empire does not seek cultural exchange. We conquer. We subjugate. That is our evolutionary imperative." A new voice joined the conversation. Older, male, with a Texas drawl. "Yeah, about that evolutionary imperative thing." The speaker was an elderly human in a worn leather jacket, moving toward the diplomatic table with a relaxed gait that somehow made Vexlar deeply uncomfortable. "General Jack Mercer," he introduced himself. "Semi-retired. I've spent my career studying potential first contact scenarios. Mind if I get philosophical for a minute?" Before Vexlar could object, the general continued. "See, we've been watching your fleet closely. Perfect formations, synchronized movements, identical ship designs with minimal variations, and it got me thinking about evolutionary paths." Mercer pulled out a small device and projected an image of Earth's ancient dinosaurs. "These fellas ruled our planet for millions of years. Biggest, strongest creatures around. Perfectly adapted. But then," he swiped to an image of a massive asteroid impact. "Circumstances change. And you know who survived. Not the perfectly adapted specialists. It was the scrappy little generalists, the ones who could eat anything, live anywhere, and change their behaviors on the fly. Another swag showed early humans creating fire, crafting tools, building shelters. That's humanity's superpower, Commander. We're adaptable to the point of absurdity. We see a disadvantage and turn it into a game. We face certain death and make memes about it. We're the cosmic cockroaches, and I mean that as the highest possible compliment to my species. Vexillar's compound eyes narrowed. Is there a point to this history lesson, General? Just this, Mercer said, leaning forward. Your invasion algorithm worked perfectly on other worlds because those species followed logical response patterns. They saw superior force and calculated their odds rationally. Humanity doesn't do that. We see your perfect invasion fleet, and half of us want to surrender, sure, but the other half immediately start figuring out how to turn your ships into the galaxy's biggest disco ball, just because it would be hilarious. The general's expression turned serious. And here's the real kicker. The half that wanted to surrender. They're now thoroughly entertained by the disco ball idea and are fully on board with whatever insanity comes next. Dr. Darwin smoothly rejoined the conversation. What General Mercer is trying to say is that conquering Earth would be inefficient. You could eventually succeed, yes, but it would cost you dearly, not in ships or warriors, but in dignity. Your perfect, orderly empire facing a species that would turn your oppression into a competitive sport. She slid a tablet across the table showing hundreds of social media posts. Humans were already organizing best alien overlord prank competitions and most stylish resistance fighter fashion shows. Before you achieved full conquest, your empire would become the laughingstock of the galaxy, she continued. Or, you could be the Nexari commander who discovered the most entertaining species in the known universe and established the first ever mutual amusement treaty. Vexillar stared at the humans, his tactical mind racing. This was unlike anything in the conquest manuals. The Nexari Empire had faced military resistance, diplomatic maneuvering, even religious opposition, but never a species that treated planetary invasion as an improvisational comedy opportunity. You've been playing with us, he finally said, this entire time. Dr. Dahlman smiled apologetically. Not entirely. Your technological capabilities genuinely impressed us. That city destroyer weapon, terrifying. Your ship designs, gorgeous, if a bit dramatic. We've been improvising our response because, frankly, we didn't have a plan for alien invasion beyond what we'd seen in movies. Movies? Vexillar questioned. Fictional entertainment, General Mercer explained. We've been imagining alien invasions for centuries. You could say we've been mentally rehearsing for this moment since before we had electricity. Vexillar's communicator chimed. The report from his intelligence officer was disturbing. Humans around the planet were now organizing invasion parties and welcome alien overlord festivals. Merchandising featuring Nexari likenesses was already in production. Several human entertainment companies were bidding for exclusive rights to the official Nexari invasion experience. With growing horror, Vexillar realized the truth. Military victory was possible, yes, but the Nexari would forever be remembered not as fearsome conquerors but as unwitting entertainers. The perfect invasion had become the perfect farce. Perhaps, Vexillar said slowly, his voice carrying the weight of an entire empire's dignity. We should review this cultural exchange proposal. 3 days later, the Nexari fleet departed Earth orbit, not in defeat, but in what official communications described as mutually beneficial cultural consultation status. Commander Vexillar stood alone on his observation deck, watching the blue planet recede. His report to the Imperial Command would require careful wording. How does one explain deciding not to conquer a technologically inferior world? How does one describe a species whose response to certain doom was to hack the doomsday weapons control systems and use it to project animated feline imagery onto their own moon? The final transmission from Earth played on his private channel, a message from Dr. Doan. Safe travels, Commander. We've thoroughly enjoyed your visit. Next time, perhaps call ahead. We'll prepare a proper welcome. Oh, and the social media team wanted me to tell you that hashtag Nexary Invasion Challenge is trending galactically. Apparently, 3 other species are now responding to their invaders with memes and dance competitions. You may have accidentally started something of a revolution in interstellar relations. Oops. As the message ended, Vexilor did something no Nexary commander had done in recorded history. He laughed, a rusty, clicking sound that startled even himself. The stars stretched into hyperspace streaks as the Nexary fleet accelerated away from Earth. Behind them, humanity continued its bizarre existence, already incorporating their brush with alien conquest into their culture, entertainment, and viral challenges. And in the great ledger of galactic civilizations, Earth received a new designation in the Nexary records: approach with caution. These beings are not what they appear. They are either the least rational or most brilliant species we have encountered, possibly both.